Welcome to another edition of Heads Over Heels. I'm your host, Angela Sedrin, and today we are going to be talking about the soul flow of money in your business, how to open that and how to allow more money into your business. My guest today is Serena Curran. She is an amazing resident of San Diego, beautiful San Diego in California. She holds an MBA and is a chemist. But here's the thing, she is a new paradigm spiritual business mentor. She's a healer and she is an Akashic Records detective. So she is the Perry Mason of the Akashic Record world. She works with spiritual entrepreneurs, visionaries, and change makers. And one of the reasons I was so attracted to Serena is that I left corporate because it just wasn't feeding my soul. I felt empty, I felt barren, and I felt like I really wasn't pursuing the purpose that made my soul sing. So for me, I'm really excited to have Serena on board today. She's the creator of the Soul Wealth Map. This is a new private business accelerator program, and she's working on a new program as well. There's lots more to tell about her, but rather than listen to me, Serena, welcome. It's wonderful to have you today, and I'm so excited to talk about how we can open this flow of money in our business, because I know this is something my audience is very interested in.
Well, Angela, that's the most wonderful introduction I've ever had. Thank you so much. And I love the Perry Mason bit. I'll remember that in the future. So thank you so much for having me here tonight and for welcoming me in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, oh, it's lovely to have you on board. And, I'm so fascinated by the fact that you have the scientific and the intuitive blended into one. That's really, really unusual. How did you come about doing this?
Well, first of all, I want to say, as being a chemist, I did that when women were not chemists. I became a chemist and I got a master's degree in chemistry, and women didn't do that at that time. So I've always been this kind of rebel pioneer out in the front of things. And I only did it because I actually was interested in chemistry. But I've always been intuitive, and I never really fessed up to that when I was a scientist. But nonetheless, that's one of the ways that I was able to really be an effective scientist, because I could intuit what would be the next place for me to go in my experimentations. And from there, I went on and got an MBA in marketing, and it was like learning a new language after being in the scientific environment. And worked as a marketing manager. So I've done sales and marketing, and I've been a serial international entrepreneur. And then suddenly I was a healer. Yeah, and I say suddenly I got that recognition. It actually happened at a time when I took an unplanned, unexpected 3-month, it turned out to be a 3-month backpacking trip in Europe. And I went to 14 countries or so during that time. And that was when I discovered that I was actually going to be doing healing work. So it was very organic process. And if you had told me, I am a natural healer, so I'd always had that ability. But if you had told me as a scientist that I would have been doing that work, I would have thought you were crazy.
Look, I think there's a real shift in the world at the moment, because particularly in the last 5 years, I'm seeing so many more women stepping up and saying that they need to find something that fulfills their soul. And I'm also seeing a lot more spirituality coming through in terms of healing, in terms of energy work, and the type of work that you do as well. So I think we're at a bit of a cusp at the moment, in a watershed in terms of where we're at in the world. And it's lovely to see how people are starting to incorporate this into their businesses.
Yeah, I think you're right on about that. I mean, I think that what we're seeing right now is we're creating a new paradigm of how we do business.
Yeah.
And it really is related to working with your soul and actually being intuitive and getting in alignment with your soul and following that trail and learning how to do that. Because in the past, there's always been, like, follow this. This is the little package. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And now, because everything is changing and we don't know what's going to be tomorrow, and we don't know from one day to the next, that it's very important that you have this sovereignty of being able to chart your own path forward based on your own, what's important for you. There's nothing more important than expressing your soul. So I think that that's right where we are, is this new paradigm of how we create businesses going forward.
Yeah. And even though the internet it's a double-edged sword, essentially, with all the benefits come so many downsides to it. We wouldn't be at this point if we didn't have the internet. It's given us, well, it's opened up a world of opportunity to us. So not only are people starting to say, I'm sick and tired of the old 9 to 5, go to work, it's prison, but it's paid for. They're now also saying, well, I want to do something that feeds my soul, but that fits in with my life and that gives me the sovereignty that you speak about, this freedom to live my life on my terms, to give back when I can, where I want to, rather than work until you retire or work until you die.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, we're seeing more and more that, one of the things I say to people is when you're going to go spend your money, you spend it where your values are. So we're seeing a shift where this is what people are focusing on. What are my values? What's important to me? How do I want my life to work for me, as opposed to how do I fit into the cog? How do I fit myself into this? How do I take my little round self and fit myself into the little square box that's been created for me in the corporate world? And even in the corporate world, it is possible to change things around so that it fits for you. It's not commonly done, but it can be done. But nonetheless, this importance of really being able to express who you are at the deepest level, as opposed to just filling space.
Yeah. So as I said, I think and you agreed, we're at this wonderful cusp at the moment in the world of world shifting and people starting to really embrace their sovereignty and do something about claiming it. But I'd love to find out from you how you marry business with this spiritual mentorship.
Well, so let's talk about the Akashic Records a little bit before we as part of that. And that is that each person has, the Akashic Records is it's an energetic record of your soul. It's like an energetic book of your soul. And everybody has one. Everybody has their own book of their soul. We can imagine it this way. Or we could say they each have their own disc or their own, piece of their file, however you wanted to frame it up. But each of you has your own soul record. And in that soul record is information about what your soul gifts are, what your soul powers are. And of course, why else would we be here on the earth? Because the soul is inhabiting this body. If the soul isn't here, the body is no longer useful. Doesn't exist any further. But we're here to express that soul. So when we know what those gifts are, and then we can make the choices to use those gifts in our business, that's when things really flow much more easily, and the business blossoms, and it makes a contribution, and it feeds you. It, like you mentioned earlier, when you were in the corporate job, it's draining when you're not aligned with your soul. But when you're doing something in alignment with your soul, as you are now, it fills you up. It brings energy in, and it gives you more energy to move forward and create more.
Yeah. So how do we access this Akashic record?
Well, everyone can access it. You probably should have been a meditator for a period of time before you access it. Now, I know there's lots of people out there that teach, you have to do certain things to get in the Akashic records, but really you can ask to go in the Akashic records and go in your own records. However, most people have someone else go and look in their records for them. And that is one of the things that I do as a Akashic, I call it detective work, when I go in there and I find out what are all the gifts that you have, and also what are where's your soul origination, and for me, I focus on business. So I give you a lot of information about how you actually use those gifts in business. But one of the other things I find in the Akashic records is, as your soul has traveled, the vehicle has made some choices that were not really the best choices possible. And as a result, it could create some problems. Maybe you made a contract back, this is past life kind of stuff, but back 10 lifetimes ago, you made a contract with someone, and this contract is still in force, and you can't get past it until it's cleared. So I'd also look and find out what kinds of things are in there that might be interfering with your expression of your soul, and then remove those. Mm-hmm. So like I said, anyone can access the Akashic records. I happen to do it in a way that I get specific information. A lot of times people go in and sort of ask random questions, but I get specific information and I'm able to give you guidance on that. That's just one part of what it takes to get into the flow of business, but that is part of it. So,
okay,
I'll pause there.
Well, let's talk about this flow of business. How can we open up the flow of money into our businesses?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's about aligning with your soul, first of all. So normally speaking, if you don't get your records read, then it's usually the things that you enjoy doing, or the things that you're really good at, or the things that people tell you you're great at. Like, you're a communicator. That's part of your gift here. And so you're expressing that gift through this program that you have in other ways. And so that feeds you and that gets you in the flow. And it's like, there's an energy that flows through the center of you. And if you can get inside that flow, everything flows more easily. So when you're manifesting, if you get inside that flow by aligning with your soul, then it flows more easily. So it's just like, you already know this from your own experience, that when you were working in a corporate job, things did not flow for you. It did not, it felt, no. But when you get doing your own thing and aligning with your soul and doing the things that fed you, then things flow. And that's when you get in the flow of abundance and the flow of money. But, there's some other parts of that too. I like to tell people that in every moment you are writing your own Akashic records. So right now, this minute, you're writing your records that are creating your future, right? So this is the other way. It's like through the stories you tell yourself, through your signature frequency, not this stuff where they tell you, raise your vibration, all this stuff, but what's your signature frequency? Like, where you spend most of your time? Are you mostly joyful? Or, you can have bad days and you can be upset, but are you mostly joyful? Are you mostly at peace? Are you mostly at that energy? That's your signature vibration. Right. And the actions you take, actual actions you take, actually are writing those records and creating your future. So you're very powerful. So, that's one thing, is to have that awareness. Wow, what matters what I decide to do right now, because I'm writing my future right this minute.
That's a very powerful thought. So tell me a little bit more about that, because often people focus on what's happened rather than the future and the negativity. But to think that we have the ability at any one time to write our future and change it is, wow, that's so powerful.
Right. And you said the key phrase there, you have to be in the present moment to do that, to write your records. You have to be present to what right here, right now, and be aware of what are the stories I'm telling myself? What's the energy I'm putting out here? Yeah. And what's the actions I'm taking? Are they aligned with the goals I have set for myself? And so, if you hang out in the past, or you're worrying about, if you're in the past, upset over what happened in the past, or in the future, worrying about what's going to happen, then you're not putting your attention on the present moment. So your point of power is right in the present moment. Right here, right now, of being able to create those stories. So now there can be interferences. And this is why I have a program where I teach people that, for example, if you've had a lot of trauma in your life, and like so many people have had trauma, it can make it more difficult for you to actually be able to connect, because your brain is running in different directions. Like, it'll go around circles. It'll not be able to process information. There's a lot of different symptoms of having trauma. But so one of the most important things for you to do, whether you recognize you have trauma or not, is to create safety for yourself. And part of creating safety is to be in the present moment, and to also connect with your physical body, and to feel the surfaces around you, and to connect with the earth. And even to do something like look in the room and see something that's beautiful and just enjoy the beauty of it, and be in that moment enjoying the beauty of it, helps you to feel safer.
So a sense of mindfulness.
Yeah, mindfulness. Yes, mindfulness and being present, because your brain starts running in all these different directions. You got to bring it back. And this helps to calm your nerve. There's many tools, but helps to calm your nervous system. One of the things I also teach is and I'll teach this to everybody right now, which is do circular breathing. If you get very stressed, you're very upset, or you're having anger, circular breathing is very simple. You just breathe in slowly and breathe out slowly without pausing, and just circular breathe, and it will calm your nervous system and bring you down into your body again.
Okay. So we've covered two points here on how to really increase the flow of money in your business. The first is to write your own future.
Right.
You've got that ability at any one time to switch direction and create the future you want, which is just the most amazing thought. It's really empowering. And the second one is, we've all had trauma. Unless potentially you're a newborn, we really all have had a lot of trauma in our lives. And unfortunately, the older you get, the more of a collection that you've actually put together.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
Yeah. So the way to deal with that is to create the sense of safety with mindfulness. I love the tip on circular breathing. It's actually unbelievable how much power we have when we start controlling our breathing.
Yes, exactly. And, there's a lot of other tools that can be used to help you with safety. But first, realizing that that's an important thing for you to do is to make sure you feel safe. And it's even going to be how you talk to yourself about what's the story you're telling yourself about your experience. How about this decision? Do you live in a universe that's supporting you or not supporting you? Is it a benevolent universe, or is it out to get you? So just making that decision alone, because what's the difference in how safe you feel? If you feel you live in a benevolent universe, you're a lot safer than when you feel like, oh my God, it's all against me, right?
Yeah.
So even looking at that from that perspective, so there's a lot of different ways to create safety, but grounding and bringing yourself back in your body, because a lot of times when people get frightened, their energy lifts out of their body. And when you do that, you get confused. You don't feel good. It isn't a good experience. So even going outside and walking in the grass, or being one of the trees and just being in nature, or actually imagining your energy coming back down and connecting with the earth, getting your feet connected with the earth, will make you feel better and make you feel safer. So there's a lot of little tools that you can use. But also it's about processing your emotions too, about, when you get angry or you're upset about something, you don't just ignore it. You kind of stop and say, wow, what am I angry about? Again, mindfulness. And what am I angry about? Where is this coming from? Is this from now? Does this connect to something else? And one of the easy ways I teach for processing emotions is to write about it using your five senses. What's the color, smell, taste, touch,
right?
Sound. And then it helps it process. So, again, these are all things that you can do for yourself if you learn how.
Yeah, I'm actually studying Stoic philosophy at the moment, which came out of ancient Greece, but the Romans, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they wrote a lot about it. And in many ways, it marries with a lot of the things you are saying as well, that awareness, that ability to choose at any one point in time what you think. And the Stoics were also very much into this concept that you control what you think. So what you're essentially saying here with becoming mindful, the circular breathing, I guess, is taking back more control of your thinking and how you present and your energy as well.
Well, I might think about it a little bit differently, because we have 35,000 thoughts or something going through our head a minute or something like that. So I think of it more in terms of what are the stories that you're telling yourself. And you can change your story. So, find out, what story am I telling myself about this experience? Like, am I telling myself this is terrible and everything's going to be a disaster? Or are you looking at it and saying, okay, well, there's a situation. What can we do now to work with the situation? So it's about the stories, because the thoughts are, there's a lot of thoughts that run through your mind. So I guess it's a semantic thing, because you can't really control those, but you can certainly control the stories that you tell yourself, which is also a form of thinking, and stories that you tell yourself about your experiences. And it changes your perspective completely and changes your experience.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. The brain is such a powerful, intelligent thing, but it's equally stupid, and it doesn't understand the difference between fact and the fiction that we tell it every day. just the
Yeah.
simple act of saying to ourselves, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then your brain goes and believes it. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're
Yeah.
saying is you shift that story to something more positive and something that's actually going to be helpful. And your whole story changes, your whole future changes based on those little stories.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, when the brain was never really designed for us to use it to create. It's really where we're supposed to create from is our hearts. Is dropping down into your heart. What's important to your heart, and following that and using our brains to do the analysis and we need these are wonderful, wonderful organ, but it isn't meant to be running us or driving us. It's meant to be in service to us.
Yeah. I interviewed a lady recently who spoke about maths of the heart, and she spoke about something very similar in that your heart has a second brain. Now, whether it's got like a little brain sitting in it, I think the point of what she was saying was that your heart has the ability to think and make decisions for you. And perhaps this is where the intuition comes from, as opposed to the fact and other things that your brain tells you.
Yeah. Well, in heart math, which is a big, they've done a lot of studies on the heart, and actually the heart is the biggest magnet in the body. It's got the biggest electromagnetic field. So it's the biggest magnet in the body. So this is where you really attract things, is with your heart. So as we use our heart energy and we connect with our heart energy, then that's what's going to attract. The brain doesn't have that magnet like the heart does. And they've actually done scientific, I mean, I don't know the details because I don't, but it's heart math if anybody was interested in finding out about it. And they teach about resonance with the heart and breathing through the heart. And just think about it. If more people were acting from their heart, what a different world we would be in.
Yes, it would be a very different world. Hopefully more people are starting to do that, particularly
absolutely
real resurgence of spirituality and people trying to connect with something more meaningful. I grew up with grandmother who, we went to church every Sunday, we said our novenas, we did all of those things, and I will always be a Catholic, but I feel for me that religion doesn't serve me as I need it. It doesn't give me what I need. Whereas the spirituality that I'm pursuing does. And I think a lot of people in this world are looking for something and finding that in this resurgence of spirituality and listening to their hearts and listening to their souls, which is a lovely thing.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the point here being that, I help people design their business around their soul. And that's the point is, we want to be expressing our soul through our businesses.
Yes.
And this is really what we're up to as far as the new paradigm of business goes. And so the more we connect with that spirituality, the more that we connect with our hearts, the more we connect with our intuition, the easier it is to get that business in alignment with the soul and into the flow of where the money is. Open money channels, right? And so open the freedom too.
Absolutely. Freedom to do so many things in this world, to live life on our terms, to, yes, buy what we want to do, live where we want to, give what we want to do for our families. Because often if you say to people, what would you do if you won, $20 million? Generally, the first thing they would do would be to say, I'm going to give it to so-and-so. I'm going to look after my mother or my child. Or we all inherently tend to want to give, and that's what part of the freedom of money comes from. So many women are scared of money. They see it as a bad thing, but with money comes power and freedom, and the more money we make, the more we can use it in a way that works with our soul to make this world a better place.
You're really describing women very well, because women are known that when they have money or resources, they use it to share with their community.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very well shown. They support their community. So yes, it's very important, especially for women, to get in the flow of money and abundance, and to love having money and to be able to use that money for the good of all. That's really the point.
Well, the UN's whole push for International Women's Day this year has been how important women are in terms of climate change. They are the most affected by climate change, but they also, when they're empowered, have the greatest power to change that. And it's the same in terms of welfare. If we look at studies done in Mexico, there was one study where the government gave, in instances where grandparents were looking after children, in some instances, they gave the money to the grandfather, the government grant, and in others, they gave it to the grandmother. And invariably, when they gave the money to the grandmother, the families and the children were better off because they would put it back into the family, whereas the grandfather would use it to buy alcohol or gamble. And obviously not all men. I mean, this was a scientific study. So at the end of the day, they have the numbers to back it. But yes, women do give back to the community. We do have this feminine energy that is mother, that is creator, that is nurturer. And it's so very, very beautiful.
Yes, exactly. So really the important thing, this is why I work with loved working with spiritual entrepreneurs and change makers and visionaries and people that when I help them to get in alignment with their soul, this is this huge ripple effect because they're going out and affecting a lot of other people. So I feel very honored to be able to do that. And it's about each person becoming a sovereign being that creates their own safety. Whatever's happening externally, they still know that they're safe, because when you have fear, you really can't make good decisions. So, you're safe. You can check in with yourself. You can connect with your intuition, your soul, and you can chart your path forward. That's ultimate freedom. And that's what, we want all women to have so that they can create that wealth that they can share with their community.
That's a beautiful way to sum up what we've spoken about today as well, in terms of how to really open that flow in your business. So to finish off, is there one tip that you'd like to give women that can really get them into that flow as soon as possible?
I think I would always say begin with safety. I would begin with, I'd always say begin with making sure that you're feeling safe and you're making decisions from a place of safety. And then once you're feeling safe, you can open up to all of the other, you can open up your path to your soul, to your intuition, and you're able to make decisions that are clear and confident. And you're also able to move forward on them. Without that feeling of safety, it's very hard for anyone to really move forward or do anything. So I would say that would be my advice. Make sure that you're doing that. And checking in with what is it that really feeds you what kinds of choices really feed you, and which things in your life feed you and which things do not, and eliminate those that do not, and just begin focusing on those that feed you. And that's the way that you'll get yourself into the flow. Get
better at saying no. Something women struggle with.
Yes, yeah. Safety is about boundaries too. It is absolutely. Safety is about boundaries. It's about saying this is okay for me and this is not okay for me. And I just want to say something very powerfully about boundaries, which is your boundaries are yours to choose. No one has anything to say about what they are, and you never have to justify your boundaries. You want to communicate your boundaries because that allows other people to honor them. And then if they do or do not honor your boundaries, then you can make decisions further about whether they belong in your life or not. But everybody gets to choose their own boundaries, and everybody gets to say what's good for them, what's not good for them. No one else, and they don't have to explain it.
No, they don't. And you don't even have to say no. You could say something as simple as thank you, but that's not going to work for me.
Exactly. It's perfect. That's a perfect answer.
Exactly. And that's definitely something women have to get better at. And it's something that comes with confidence as well. And also letting go of this continual need to please.
Yeah. Those are all things that get worked on when you start working on all of these steps towards being sovereign.
Serena, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fascinating. I've never spoken to a female Perry Mason before, so this is first for me. So tell me, how can our viewers get in touch with you if they'd like to know more?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook, so they can always find me there. I have a channel on YouTube as well. I do have a website, serenacurran.com. And I would also love to offer to your audience, I'd like to open up 3 complimentary spots for a wealth-aligned strategy session. And this is where we look at what your challenges are, and I'll give you some diagnosis about the situation and offer some solutions, and perhaps invite you to be in one of my programs. It depends on what we discover as we do that. So, and you can do that by using a bit.ly link, which is bit.ly// bit.ly/wealthy soul. And I would love very much to be connect with your audience and see who I can assist to move forward.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And I will certainly do everything in my power to spread your message far and wide, because I think together we as women help each other and we make the world a much better place.